Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Currency. Consistency is currency. I don't know why. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. It always puts me in a space like I really supposed to say consistency is key. But we're not talking about the consistency is key. We're talking about how consistency can create currency, whether it is a current structure or currency from a monetary perspective, or just to be current or concurrent to allow it to continue to go and allow it to continue to grow. And that's what we're talking about here today. So today's lesson, we're talking about there is power in the pause. There is power in the pause. So if you understand that there is power in the pause, go ahead and drop pause inside of the comment, because when we get into that nature of pause, I want you to learn something. And at the end of it, I'm going to give you four tools of the pause. So when I get to the 4 tools of the pause, I want you to write it down just so you can keep it for yourself, because I might make this a 2-part series or a 3-part series, whichever one that comes to mind. But right now we're talking about the power. There is power in the pause. And I think it's really going to allow you to see things from a different perspective, because that's what we want you to do here on the podcast of Consistency is Currency. Those that are watching right now on Facebook, I appreciate you for being here. Today is Monday. Today is another day for you to be blessed. Today is another day for you to be successful. If you're watching right now on YouTube, I thank you for being here, because you could have been anywhere on any other channel. There's millions of channels on YouTube, but you are right here on Consistency is Currency. If you're listening on a podcast, wherever you are listening from, whether it is in the US or you're in Italy, Cambodia, whatever you are and wherever you are, I thank you for being here on this podcast platform. So good morning. Today is Monday. Today is another day. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I think this one you're going to really like. You're going to be touched by it, because pause is so important. Pause is very important. So I'm going to give you 3 scenarios. Now, in these 3 scenarios, you are going to be interactive between these scenarios, because right now you may be in this point, or you may be coming out of this point. But listening and learning and understanding how there is power in the pause could possibly strengthen where you are right now, and it can extend all the way through the rest of your week when you understand that there is power in the pause. So I'm gonna give you 3 story scenarios, and you're gonna learn how to extract power out of the pause in order for you to know how and where and when you're going to proceed in this message. All right, so the very first story in the pause. One, there's 3 scenarios. You have the catastrophic pause, and in these catastrophic pause are things that you cannot control, things that totally embodies a disaster or something, again, that you have no control over changing. It happens. So the very first catastrophic pause, you have a flat tire. You're driving and you have a flat tire and you hit a pothole, whatever it is, and now it totally shuts you down and you cannot do anything else, because this catastrophic pause have overtaken you physically, and the catastrophic pause have overtaken you mentally, psychologically, spiritually, and all of that stuff in this catastrophic pause, in your tire being flat. You hit this pothole. So now how would you feel in that moment? Would you feel that the rest of your day is over? Would you feel that your car is damaged to the point to where it cannot be repaired because you blew a tire? Remember, this is just a blown tire. Would you feel like you can't do anything else because you're in that moment of the catastrophic pause and it totally embodies you and it tears you down? So that's your catastrophic pause of blowing a tire. So now let's go into the next catastrophic pause. We're going to use the same thing. We're going to use still a vehicle. Now, you're in an accident. Bam, the accident happens. Your vehicle is still drivable. There is still room to repair it. But it is causing a catastrophe within your mind. It is causing a catastrophe in that moment. It is causing you to break down. Because remember, this was uncontrollable. You didn't know that you was going to wake up and be in a car accident today. You didn't know that you was going to, well, that day. I'm not putting anything on your life. You didn't know that you was going to be in that car accident that day. But it totally embodied you, and it totally took everything out of you, and it broke everything down, and you felt like my day is over. My day is complete. I have nothing else in me, and I'm done. That is that catastrophic pause that tears everything down about you, that you are not in a position to do anything else because you have taken on the embodiment of what happened in that particular moment. So now let's take the power of pause. Let's take the power of pause to where you intentionally took a pause on purpose. Because the power of pause is an intentional pause. Now, we're going to go into the definition and etymology, and you're going to see it for yourself. Now, the power of pause is an intentional pause. Something that you did on purpose intentionally. What if that moment you've noticed the day before, I need a tire. My tread is not like or how it should be. And because my tread is not like or how it should be, maybe I should go get a new tire. So let me take time out of my day to go to Discount Tires or whatever it is, and let me go get this new tire. That is a controlled pause. Because we already know and understand the catastrophic pause. But what if we took the time out to go and ensure that nothing possibly can happen because we took the time out to go get a new tire, or we took the time out to go get an alignment, or we took the time out to go ensure that anything that possibly can happen, I want to ensure that I will go get a new tire, and I will go take the time out of my day to go do it now. That is, again, the intentional pause. So now let's go into the car accident, the catastrophic scenario. You knew that you had to be at work. You knew what time you had to be at work. You knew what time that you was going to go to this particular place. You knew what time that you were supposed to be in that moment. But what if you took the pause? You already knew that you woke up late. So go ahead and call, or go ahead and reach out and be in conversation or communication with wherever or whoever you're going to go meet, if that was the scenario or the picture that you painted. You're already late, so calm down. Pause and allow yourself to breathe. Still do everything that will allow you to still get there safely. That's that pause with purpose. And because you took that pause with purpose, you're not rushing like you possibly could be to get to that traffic stop and then get hit by this vehicle. You didn't know the vehicle was going to be there, but what if you rushed too far into the moment that you put yourself in that moment of the catastrophe? Those are just two scenarios of a catastrophic pause and a purposeful pause, or a pause on purpose. So let's go ahead and get into it. Good morning, good morning, good morning, peace. All right, so now we're going to go into these two measures. There is power in the pause. And I want you to say that. Say there is power in the pause. Put it inside the chat. If you're listening on the podcast perspective, I want you to say it, and I want you to believe in it, that there is power in the pause. All right, so the definition of pause is an interrupt action or speech briefly. Interrupt action or speech briefly. But then you go into pause is also a temporary stop in action or speech. Temporary, that means there is a pause, but you still have the ability to change. There is a pause, but you still have the ability to make things better. There is a pause, but you still have the ability to still be successful, because this is just a temporary action. This is just a temporary feeling. This is still going to allow you to still be prosperous. It's still going to allow the harvest to take place, because we all know and understand that this pause is temporary. There is still something that is in me that needs to be birthed out of me, because right now I am in this temporary pause, and I need to know that after this pause is over, the best is still yet to come. So now this is the pause that I want you to pay attention to. The pause, it is a control allowing the temporary interruption of process. This is the definition of pause that I want you to pay attention to. Why? Because when you put yourself in those controlled paused measures, you allow yourself to do what? You allow yourself to breathe. You allow yourself to breathe. So right now, in this moment, I want you to allow yourself to breathe. This moment, I'm talking to you, and I'm telling you, I want you to breathe like right now. Do those controlled measures of breathing, whether it is a deep inhale or a deep exhale. You control that breathing. The way that your chest rises or your chest falls, the way that your stomach goes in or your stomach goes out, you are controlling that process of breathing. You are controlling that allowed temporary interruption of process, because that is something that you can breathe. When you have the power of breath, it allows you to breathe life back into your situation, because you took the time out to control the temporary interruption of process. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale. That is the power of pause. And you have to understand that, because the one thing, like we all know, the one thing that you have the responsibility of is control how you react to things, just like you have the power and the responsibility of how you allow yourself to pause before you actually take that next step forward. And the etymology of pause, I never looked at it this way, because I didn't even know that. I've never really looked at a lot of things from this perspective of the definition and the etymology until I began to create and birth out this process of consistency is currency. So the etymology of pause comes from the Latin word pausin, P-A-U-E-N, pauen, P-A-U-E-I-N. It is a hesitation proceeding from doubt or uncertainties. How many times have you doubted yourself in being creative? How many times have you placed yourself in a position of doubt to where you have talked yourself out of being successful? You have talked yourself out of being the who that you are, because you allow things to happen to you. But if you really took the time out to what? Breathe. If you really took the time out to get yourself out of that uncertain feeling or out of the uncertainties and breathe in the moment, because you do have the power to control your breath. You do have the power to control your breathing. So we're going to go into the Latin portion of pause, which is a hesitation. Now, a hesitation is something that you're doing yourself, the hesitation of proceeding from a doubt or uncertainty. Now we're going to talk about tactical pause. For those who are military, those who understand what a tactical pause is, you already know. For those who have never heard a tactical pause, I guarantee you a tactical pause is going to put you in a position to be that much more powerful. It's going to put you in a position to do bigger, better, and greater things, because a tactical pause is a deliberate break. That means that it's something that you're doing on purpose. That means there is a walk that you're walking on purpose. That means that there is a newness that you have inside of yourself, because a deliberate break in the operation that allows an organization, I put person because it's normally organization from a military perspective, it allows a deliberate break in the operation that allows an organization slash person, that's you, to regroup. Today, I want you to regroup. I want you to regroup deliberately. If you've never been told to deliberately pause, I want you to pause deliberately. I want you to pause on purpose. I want you to pause with the intent of, after the pause, I want you to be empowered. After the pause, I want you to be strong. And after you understand that I am pausing on purpose, because after my purposeful pause, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to walk in a new light. Because in that regroup of the deliberate break, in the military, there is something that we do is called consolidate and reorganize. So in your deliberate pause, I want you to consolidate and reorganize. In the process of your consolidation and your reorganizing, you are consolidating the things that you know that need to be done and reorganizing those things, or reorganizing your thoughts before you take the next step. That is where you're going to put yourself in a position of standing up and doing something greater than what you did in the past. You have to understand that you have to take a deliberate break sometimes in order for you to regroup, to make it bigger, better, and stronger, to allow your tomorrow to be better than your today, because you're going to have to take that tactical pause. Totally and completely up to you on when you're going to allow yourself to breathe and when you're going to make it better for you. I want you to learn and understand tactical pause, because tactical pause could possibly be how your week is strengthened. Now, this is another R2 scenario. So I want you to understand this and look at this from a real honest perspective. The right amount of pause will allow the paint to dry. If you understand this, I want you to put pause in the comment, because the right amount of pause will allow the paint to dry. How many times have you been in a scenario that you jumped on the first thing? First thing you saw, you jumped on it. The first thing that happened, you jumped all in somebody. At the first conversation, you were so angry that you actually took action when you could have paused. The right amount of pause will allow the paint to dry, because there are times in your life where you're going to have to allow the paint to dry. After you allow the paint to dry, then that's probably when you were supposed to speak. That is probably when you were supposed to take the next step, after the paint dried. So take that pause. Take that moment. Take the consolidation and the reorganizing of your mind to do something bigger and better today, or to do something bigger and better tomorrow, because again, the right amount of pause will allow the paint to dry. Don't jump so quick to conclusions, but allow the paint to dry. This probably hit somebody deep today, because they jumped all over somebody, but then when you found out that that's not what that person said, you didn't allow the paint to dry. You can't blame it on anyone else if you didn't allow the right amount of pause to allow the paint to dry. Don't throw rocks at me. I'm just saying what I'm supposed to say. Don't throw these rocks at me. I'm just saying what I'm supposed to say, because the right amount of pause will allow the paint to dry. Man, that's so powerful. Don't be stealing my stuff. I know where it came from. If you start writing it down like, hey, post it in the right amount. If you do, make sure you put it back to me. The right amount of pause will allow the paint to dry. So, all right. So I'm going to give you 4 methods of pause, and you can write these things down, because I will take this tomorrow to a part 2. I may make this a 3-part a 3-part series, or just a 2-part, depend on what It depends on my pause and my cause. You ever heard the thing ask, pause, cause? Yeah. All right. So the very first thing that I want you to understand in the power of pause is to know yourself and to live by your values. That's the first one. That's the first method in your pause. To know yourself and to live by your values. Those that are watching right now, how do you see that? Flesh that part out of your mind and put it into content. How do you see in your pause to know yourself and to live by your values? Because your values are yours. All right, number two. Oh, oops, I skipped one. Number two, pause give you permission to proceed. In your pause, it will give you the permission to proceed. Oh, it will also give you the mission. Because remember, the right amount of pause would allow the paint to dry. So it will give you a mission in your pause, in that moment of still, in that moment of pause will create a new process for you. Because remember, in the tactical pause, it is a deliberate pause. So after that deliberation that you're having with yourself, or after that deliberation that you're having with a group or a body of people, it will possibly realign what your new mission is to take the next step forward. But this one is about you. Pause gives you permission, not waiting on someone else to give you permission to be great, but your pause will give you permission to proceed. All right. Again, how do you see that? How does your pause give you permission to proceed? All right. Number three, a pause allows you to connect or reconnect. Because a lot of times we're so disconnected from people, we're so disconnected from a situation, we're so disconnected from the body of things that we no longer allow ourselves to connect. Allow that pause to reconnect. Allow that pause to reconnect with a relationship. Allow that pause to reconnect with a relationship with yourself. Because remember, you can inhale and exhale and breathe. You can control the rise and fall of your chest. You can control the inhale and exhale of your breath. So a pause allows you to connect or reconnect. And this last one, I love it. So I got kind of excited about it. This last one, I love it because it is all about you. And it says a pause, allow your pause to be your superpower. Allow your pause to be your superpower. I don't care if you got to go to the car and breathe, inhale, exhale, put yourself inside of your mental space, create that tactical pause moment. And then after you have inhaled and exhaled and breathed and wrote down what you're going to do and what you want to do next, allow that to be your superpower. No one has to understand that I need to go out and take a pause. You can just say, I'll be right back. I got to go to the car and get something. You need to go to the car and get yourself right. That's what you need to do. Or you need to go to that space to get yourself correct. If that's what you need to do, allow that to be your superpower. So again, put in the comment section, how do you see this? How do you see allow your pause to be your superpower? That's enough. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow 7:30 here at Consistency is Currency. And I want you to take the rest of the day and allow your pause to be your superpower. I'll give you 4 more methods tomorrow, but today, right now, allow your pause to be your superpower. Begin to understand when those catastrophic pauses happen, you do have the ability to take a tactical pause. And I'm going to say that again. Even in the midst of a catastrophic pause, you can take a tactical pause. You can take a deliberate moment in time to give yourself permission to proceed, because your pause is your greatest superpower. And I will say it one more time. I'm going to bring this up just so y'all can see it. For those who are just now chiming in, the right amount of pause will allow, I'm going to take this away. I want you to see my face. The right amount of pause will allow the paint to dry. Y'all be blessed.